well and that you are making your way through. I have written a plethora of things here for you guys to read, so I do want you to read through all of this stuff, but I want to go over it with you as well. Again, it's always nice to have a face behind all of this stuff, and I wanted just to make sure that we're all on the same page about a few things. So I'm just going to go through this, okay? The first thing that I noticed here as I was grading your essays, I was trying to make sense of the grades, and they were pretty poor. I wasn't expecting the grades, the average, to be so low, so I was trying to understand what that was and why that was the case. And as I was leafing through the modules and the instructions, I found that there were some conflicting instructions. So in the Start Here module, it says that, in the Resources module, the assignments state that you don't need any secondary sources, whereas in the Start Here module, the assignment states that you do need secondary sources. Whose fault is that? Absolutely mine, not yours. So that is my bad. I do apologize for that inconsistency. I have changed it, and the change should now be reflective of a requirement of 2 secondary sources for all of your essays from here on out, not inclusive of the research paper, which will obviously you'll need more sources for that. The approach then I took for essay 1 was that I did not count off if you did not have secondary sources. So if you didn't include them, that's not something I counted off. Just know that for upcoming essays, though, I will be counting off for not including secondary source material. That must come from the TJC library databases, so just make sure that you're aware of that, okay? But I'm sorry for that inconsistency. For those of you that did include secondary research, that's awesome. You are ahead of the game. Check out my commentary on how you can make it better and approach the future assignments with that in mind. The second thing I wanted to talk about was as I've mentioned at the start of this video, was my disappointment with the grades, with the essays. What I found was that it seemed a lot of the errors were just a result of sheer laziness or a lack of going through the Start Here module and the Resources module. Because I think that a lot of those issues were things like formatting. MLA format, all of the assignments have to be submitted in MLA format. And that's something that you should have down by now, especially since we've submitted journal assignments. And if you've been reading my commentary on any of those journals, if you didn't have the format down, then I would have said something to you on those journal assignments so that you should take that knowledge and approach the next essay. So that's really important, y'all. MLA. Review the manuscript format guidelines in the Start Here module so that you know exactly what that means. 12-point font, Times New Roman, double spaced, 1-inch margins, heading, header. And so those are things that you really need to make sure you're paying attention to because the penalty will be steep if you continue to make those errors. And not everyone did terrible. I was just a little shocked that there weren't better, that the majority, had issues with these very simple things that we shouldn't at this point in the semester be having issues with. But we can learn from this, and we can approach the next essay with all of that in mind. The next thing that I noticed was that some of you guys did not include in-text citations in a works cited page. Failure to include one or both in any assignment that you turn in this class does result in an automatic 50%. I was lenient with this time around, but that's what it says in the assignments. That's what it says in my policies. All assignments in this course have to have in-text citations in a works cited page. If you fail to include one or both, then it'll be an automatic 50. Y'all, this is where it really just kind of teeters along the lines of plagiarism. Even if it's not just blatant plagiarism, if we don't cite our sources, then we aren't giving credit where credit is due, and that's so important that we learn that in a writing class and that we do that accurately. So you can't, or in-text citations really can't live without a works cited page, and a works cited page can't live without in-text citations, because the one leads me to the other. Your in-text citation says author, last name, and page number. Well, that doesn't really tell me exactly where I can go find that. I need to know the book it came from. I need to know who wrote it, who edited it, where it was, when it was published, the copyright date, the place of publication, the medium, the website, the HT, all of those things that you find on the citation page. That's really what the in-text citation is guiding me to. So I want you guys to review pages 90 through 97 in your textbook. I've written that plenty of times on the commentary and journal assignments, so make sure you are looking at that, excuse me, as well as the MLA link in the resources module, friends. That's something that you should have kind of already gone over and reviewed. You want to make sure that you're formatting those appropriately, okay? And look at my commentary too. I helped you out there by leaving extensive feedback on your essay. I also want you guys to work on, all of you collectively, work on sandwiching your quotes. What does this mean? This means that you're cushioning your quotes with your own words. You're cushioning source material with words. So all quotes have to have some sort of a lead-in, establishing the context. According to the text, that's a very simple lead-in, but according to Old Man Warner, see how that establishes the actual speaker in the situation, okay? According to Dr. Barnes, who wrote the article titled, right, that's a good lead-in. In your own words, establishing context, introducing the source, okay? So that's an example of a lead-in. After the quote, you need to discuss it. Don't ever assume that your reader is making the same connections as you are. Connect the dots for them and guide their interpretation. Spend some time explaining how what they say, what that quote says, proves what you say, what your argument, what your thesis is. Okay. I call this the claim quote commentary method. So each body paragraph should follow a kind of format of the claim quote commentary method, meaning that you want to start with the claim, topic sentence in your own words. Okay. So cushioning the quotes. Go and find an example, go and find a quote that backs up your claim and in turn backs up the thesis statement, okay? And then end with commentary. End each paragraph with commentary explaining how the examples you've included are working to back up your thesis statement, okay? So claim, quote, commentary. Make sure that those are things that you guys are all addressing as we approach the next assignment, and also even, or the next essay, but also even journals, that's important. So another thing I found was lack of focus or a lack of a thesis statement. The thesis statement is the single most important sentence of the entire essay. You guys have to be hyper aware of this and make sure you're focused on writing it, on formatting it, on making sure it's meeting minimum requirements. And at a very minimum, your thesis statement should mention the story title, story under discussion, mention the author, mention the literary element or elements under scrutiny. So maybe it's symbolism or point of view or character development or conflict or dilemma, and offer up some sort of interpretation, okay? It should be interpretive, okay? So, for example, in Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, she argues that one should not follow blindly the traditions of their culture, okay? Through symbolism, if I wanted to tack on the literary element. Okay, so in Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, she argues through her use of symbolism that one should not follow blindly the traditions of their culture. So that's just something you want to keep in mind. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to. We're working on the thesis statements in our journals. I've left you commentary on that, but you know what? You also had an opportunity to submit a thesis statement for this essay, and I left you commentary on that. So I want you guys to make sure that you're reading my commentary, because I left some pretty, I think, good feedback, right? And I'm the one grading it, so make sure you're looking at that stuff. I did upload a document in the resources module that I think will help you format your thesis statements in the future. Don't forget that the approach for the journal assignments, that's different than the approach for the essays. The journal assignments, y'all, they are miniature pieces of an essay. They're not a full essay. So for that reason, you know, we get straight to the point in our journals. We do a thesis statement, we find examples, and we comment on it. And so you start out with your thesis statement. Whereas in the essays, you actually do have to have an introduction with a hook with background information and source summary, and then your thesis statement. So just make sure you guys can keep those separate in your minds, that your journals are just kind of practice in writing thesis statements and finding evidence to back up claims, whereas your essays, these are fully developed essays with fully developed introductions and a thesis statement at the end of the intro. Okay. So those were some of the main things that I found as I was grading, and I found those issues enough to where I felt I did need to make the video and write this announcement for you guys to review and to keep this stuff in mind as you move forward, okay? So again, just to recap, we talked about paying attention to formatting, MLA, in-text citations in a works cited page. Lack of focus in thesis was an issue, so make sure that you guys have a thesis statement and that everything you write is related to that thesis statement, is working to claim, prove that claim. And then in addition, you want to make sure you guys are aware of the difference in approaches to the journals and the essay assignments. Moving forward, I have added 2 resources for you guys to use that I think will help. I want you to read these resources and review them before our next assignment is due. So the first one is titled Literary Analysis and Secondary Sources Detailed Outline. That's a long title. I probably should have made that a little shorter. This document, both of these documents can be found in the resources module. It can be found underneath essay instructions, and basically this is just an outline, a more detailed outline to the essay approach, so that those of you who had an issue organizing it, or trying to figure out how to organize it, you can use this as a guide for essay 2. Okay, so it's going to be an outline that you can use for essay 2. So look at it, check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. The next thing you will want to look at, y'all, I'm so sorry. That's the second time I've yawned in this 13-minute video. You'd think I could wait. The second thing you want to look at is the literary analysis thesis statements. That's the name of the document. That can also be found in the resources module underneath the grading rubric. And this is a really, I think, helpful document that will offers up some formulas for writing your thesis statement, and that's something that that I think will help. So for example, it would give you just a blank formula that you could actually use and plug in the information that you want to bring into it. So yeah, so check out those resources. The very last thing I wanted to tell you guys is that I am going to be dropping the 2 lowest grades in the journal assignment category in this course. So those of you who maybe had a late start or just don't want to do one, then I'll be dropping 2 of your lowest. So I hope that helps y'all out just a little bit. But y'all, I hope that at this point now we have our essay grades back, we have our first exam done, that you guys are kind of realizing the nature of the course, that it's not a blow-off course, that we certainly do need to put some effort into it. But I also want to see you guys succeed, so I want to offer up the best things for you guys to do well. And I hope these resources I've given you, as well as this clarification, helps. I apologize for not giving you guys an outline before the essay, and I do want you just to kind of know that I was pretty lenient in the grading of essay 1 because I did see such a broad, such a blanket issue. These were blanket issues, meaning that in some way, I failed in getting this information across. So I was pretty lenient, unless it was just absolutely, the formatting stuff that you should know that. One more thing, y'all. If you're not reading my commentary in the class, the feedback that I leave, not in the comment box, but on the actual essay, you're not gonna do well. I expect you to read the commentary on the essay assignments and to take what I have said and make changes. Go and fix it. So if we're making the same mistake every assignment, then you'll notice that the penalty is going to get steeper for those assignments. So, hey, I think you're all doing great though. Listen, I think you're doing great. I saw those exams the grades were good. You guys are awesome. You have a journal due on, I think, Monday. So keep trucking it, and please let me know if you have any questions. Does this help? I hope this is helping you. Okay, good night.